Hey everyone, this is Sajay Janardhan. Welcome back to my channel. And I know it's been a long time since I've put any sort of content in this channel. I've been busy with stuff, but I'm finally back and I'm back with something a bit different. I'm here today with a book review. That's right, I've been reading. And today I want to talk to you guys about The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. So, if you see me refer to the laptop, I've made notes because this is the first time I'm doing this, so I have no idea what I'm doing. So, forgive me if I glance at the camera occasionally. So, yeah, so this book was suggested to me by one of my closest friends. She knew what my reading tastes were, and we were in a bookstore one day here in Bangalore, and she was like, "Hey, have you read this? Just read the first page and see if you like it." And I read the first page and I was immediately hooked, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm buying this." And she laughed at me. She knew that I would. So that's how I got this book. And so, talking about this book, so this is basically a tale of two young magicians. I mean, real magicians with actual magic, not the magic we see in the real world, but real magicians, Celia and Marco, and their journey and what they find themselves in basically makes the premise of this book. And these two characters are from different yet similar backgrounds. Like Marco is basically an orphan, and Celia had a mother who committed not living, the user-friendly way to say it, and she was abandoned. So she was left with her father, who estranged father, who didn't want her in the beginning, but saw her gifts in magic and wanted to use her for a centuries old duel between two magicians, one magician and his basically his student, who is also a gifted magician, and like who are locked in a centuries old duel to outshine each other, each through their like protege or student. And Celia and Marco find themselves in this competition. So that's the central story, the basic premise of this book. And although that is the central story, the whole book revolves around this mysterious and magical circus that appears and disappears without any warning. So basically their whole competition takes place within inside the circle, so that makes the whole story. And okay, let me start with the positives of the book. The biggest positive is the world building. So basically Erin Morgenstern knows well how to create a enchanting and like vivid world. And I'm a person who absolutely loves world building. Let me tell you a story. When I was young, I mean a kid basically, I tried reading. I was not a big, so I didn't start reading from a young age onwards like a lot of people. I tried reading books. It never, I would read like one page and I would give up immediately. I couldn't get into any of these books that I've read at that age. And surprise, surprise, the only book that I've started reading and found interesting enough to keep reading. And before I say the book, just imagine I'm just a dumb kid from India. So the first book I properly read, or the first series of books that I properly read, is Harry Potter. And the biggest thing that attracted me to Harry Potter is the world building. And so yeah, so that the moment you enter Hogwarts and how the author explains and paints a word picture of how, all the magical enchantments and all the mysteries of the Hogwarts, that large castle of a school, that like intrigued me. And I've been a huge fan of world building ever since in any sort of media, and which is also a reason I still play Skyrim a lot. Like, I love playing Skyrim, and I love watching Fudge Muppet, and these channels which talk about Skyrim lore. So yeah, I love world building, and that's one of the strengths of the Night Circus. And she I'm sorry, the author paints a beautiful word picture of the circus and its characters and everything. And this is a place that is filled with extraordinary spectacles, hidden secrets, and like a sense of enchantment that feels everywhere. And she succeeds in basically beautifully explaining and making us feel each of these enchantments and these mysteries. And like how she explains all the towering tents and like the performances of each of the artists or in the circus, and each details of the performances and everything is very meticulously crafted to the snacks you would get in the circus, that serves in the circus is so beautifully explained that you feel like you're there. And I love that kind of world building in any sort of medium. And yeah, that is one of the strengths. And secondly, I would say the characters are very interesting, although I wouldn't say they are complicated, extremely deep characters or anything, but they're still very interesting. I haven't, so far reading through the Night Circus, I haven't found any particular character whom I would deem boring. Every character is very interesting. The main characters, like Celia and Marco, are like flawed and unique in their own way, so much so that it's very difficult to choose a side between their competition. You root for both of them. You don't want either to win or lose, neither to win or lose. So they are both very interesting characters, which is kind of, I feel like it's kind of difficult to do. If when we have two protagonists, like it's very difficult to make both of them equally interesting, that you don't root for any one of them, you root for both of them. So that was pretty cool. And my favorite character in this book is Chandresh Lefebvre. So he is the proprietor of the circus. He actually, it was his idea to create the circus and enroll all these performances. He's a very quirky and fun character, although like you could say he was, I would say, nudged into all these things to create the circus, because this was the circus was the battleground for Celia and Marco to their competition. And so it was like it was like he was nudged in that way. I think the better way to put it is, but it was his idea to build a circus, and he's a very eccentric and very interesting character who is my favorite in the whole book. But other characters are also interesting, and each of them are unique with their own traits, and you wouldn't mix up any one of them, you wouldn't forget any one of them. So the characters has been pretty good. One of the things that I would say like not great but kind of good, like mid, would be the pacing. The pacing can be slow at times, but I wouldn't say it drags on, but it is kind of slow at times. So I mean, it is kind of needed, as you know, like you building this world, you need to take time and establish what each of these characters are, what their motives are, I guess, and what they mean to one another, like not in that sense, but their relation with one another and how it all comes together. So it takes time, and if you have the patience, like if you don't enjoy like the slow paced beginnings or slow paced sections in a book, you might find it, like dragging on a bit. Like if that's your preference, I don't mind taking it slow if it means like good world building, and that's what the author does here. So it was okay for me. The pace was fine for me, but it was like, again, like if I'm speaking objectively, it was a bit slow paced. But at the same time, the nature of the rivalry between the protagonist and the competition, how the competition unfolds, and how, like in the beginning you don't realize or you don't understand why this competition is being held, and later you learn why. And the origin of the circus, again, that's something you learn on later, why, how. So I feel like those are written in a very tightly knitted way. It reveals its circus reveals its secrets, or the competition secrets, step by step, so you're intrigued. So in terms of these elements, the competition between them, the rivalry between these two legendary, not the main characters, but their masters, the rivalry between them, these are slowly revealed, and that keeps you intrigued. And you again, the competition between them is also pretty well written, as in the truth behind the competition is pretty well written. You kind of learn it as the story progresses, which was, I feel like, well written. It was not, so that's what, even if the beginning or the certain sections which are slow paced, this is what keeps you grabbed to the book, which was pretty good. And I guess now I would like to talk about the meh, or like not so good parts of the book, which I think only one thing comes to my mind, which is the ending, the climax. Now, so I don't want to speak a lot about this because that would spoil the ending, the book, which I don't want to do. I want you to pick up the book and read it yourself and figure out your own opinion. So I don't want to spoil the book for you, so I'm not going to get into too much in detail into it. But I think the best way to put it is, I was expecting more. I guess I was expecting better. I felt like the ending was a bit rushed and a bit obvious, if that makes sense. A bit predictable. I kind of knew. Again, this might be a bit spoilerish, but the connection between the two main characters, or the relationship between the two main characters, understanding that early on, I would kind of predicted how this is gonna end. Although there was like one surprise how it would end, but again, that surprise also is kind of predictable, because another character goes through a similar condition. You would understand if you read the book, if you have read the book, what I'm talking about. But that part was kind of predictable. And there are two parallel stories. I would say not two parallel. The main focus would be, of course, with Marco and Celia, but there is one more character which figures into the whole equation of these two. And in the beginning, the two stories were going parallel to each other, and it converges at the end of the climax of the book. I felt like that how they did it was also a bit meh, a bit disappointing. I was expecting a bit more, I guess, role to the other character that joins here, or a bit more something to do like once they meet up with our main protagonist, like a little bit more things to happen, with all of them together, but that didn't happen, which I felt like, I mean, this is just my opinion. I felt that was a bit disappointing, and the ending felt a bit rushed, but that's still fine. That doesn't take away from the enjoyment, the experience, the great world building, the great writing from the book. So overall, I would say this was a highly enjoyable experience for me. This was a great read. It's not a difficult read at all. It's easy to consume. The words are not difficult. It's not difficult to follow. So it's a pretty good book. Anyone who loves fantasy and who loves magic, who loves world building, would really enjoy the Night Circus. So overall, I highly recommend. And for the Night Circus, I would give a nerd score, my personal nerd score of 8 out of 10. So I guess that's about it. See you next time. Bye.